Good evening. Tonight, we delve into a deeply troubling and often overlooked issue affecting members of our community. An endless cycle of denial and abuse facilitated by the use of directed energy weapons. This technology, in the hands of ordinary citizens, is being used to control and torment neighbors, leaving victims with no clear recourse.
That's right, Matthew. Our focus tonight is on a particularly harrowing case involving an offender from El Salvador who uses a directed energy weapon to exert control over their upstairs neighbor in an apartment building. The implications of this case highlight a profound systemic failure that allows such abuse to continue unchecked.
To understand the gravity of this situation, we need to explore the nature of these directed energy weapons. They can cause intense pain and discomfort without leaving any physical evidence, making it extremely difficult for victims to prove their suffering. This invisibility is a significant part of the problem.
It certainly is, Matthew. In this case, the offender avoids complaining to the landlord and instead uses this covert method of punishment. They demand silence and minimal movement from their neighbor. Demands that would be seen as unreasonable, perhaps even delusional, if presented to the landlord directly.
Exactly, Joanna. The offender maintains a good relationship with the landlord, which further complicates the victim's situation. By employing such stealth methods, the offender ensures that their neighbor is constantly aware of their demands. This dynamic creates a perverse power imbalance where the victim is left defenseless.
The victim, understandably, is not an expert in investigating electromagnetic attacks. They face societal stigma and the fear of being labeled delusional if they seek help. This fear silences them, leaving them to endure the torture in isolation. The offender, fully aware of this stigma, grows bolder in their attacks, expecting the victim to submit and plead for mercy.
The landlord's role in this cycle cannot be understated. By insisting on tangible evidence before taking any action, the landlord effectively condones the torture. Their stance denies the victim's complaints and refuses assistance, placing an insurmountable burden of proof on the victim. This denial enables the offender to continue their sadistic campaign without fear of repercussion.
It's a chilling reality, Matthew. The landlord's insistence on evidence and subsequent inaction is, in effect, an endorsement of the abuse. Society, too, plays a role in enabling the offender by perpetuating the stigma and disbelief surrounding the use of directed energy weapons. This systemic failure leaves victims with no one to turn to, deepening their isolation and despair.
As the abuse continues, the victim's mental clarity and job performance decline, placing them in an increasingly precarious situation. Isolation deepens as friends and family, unable to understand or believe the victim's plight, withdraw their support. The victim's will to continue deteriorates, leading to a profound sense of hopelessness.
And the cycle perpetuates itself, Matthew. When the victim is finally forced to leave due to the ongoing abuse, the landlord simply replaces them with a new tenant, resetting the cycle of denial and abuse. It's a grim reality that needs urgent attention and action.
This endless cycle of denial is not just unacceptable. It is a form of systemic torture. We, as a society, need to shift our attitudes and policies to provide better support and validation for these victims. Recognizing the reality of this abuse and taking concrete steps to stop it is crucial.
Indeed, Matthew. Our reports aim to shed light on these issues, offering victims a shred of hope and a platform to share their stories. We believe that raising awareness can make a difference, providing victims with someone to speak to and perhaps a way to escape the seemingly endless torture.
It's essential that we continue to highlight these stories and advocate for change. If you or someone you know is experiencing this kind of abuse, reach out to local support groups and advocacy organizations. There is help out there, and together, we can break this cycle.
We will continue to follow this story and bring updates as they develop. Stay tuned and remember, your voice matters. Let's stand together against such injustices and work towards creating a society that supports and believes victims of these invisible crimes.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay safe and take care. Good night.
Good night.